One of the things that I loved about you being here, Kenny, that was very helpful to our kids is it gave them an emotional outlet. They could come to you whenever they were hurting, whenever they were angry. Teachers had a backup because we're expected to be the mother, the father, the counselor, and then the teacher after all of that. We had you to kind of bridge that gap where they could go to you and sit in circle or do the stuff you all used to do with all the little soft toys they had and things that they can do to help control their anger and just to get out what was going on with them, maybe even that day or maybe just in their life. And you had such a rapport with the kids. You are missed because you have that rapport and you have the rapport with the staff. So while I'm on here, I just want to tell you how much you were appreciated while you were here and how much you are missed now that you are gone. There was a boy I had. There were two boys that they just couldn't get it together in my class. And I had a boy that he's kind of like a bully, but that's the way he was portraying himself. And I didn't know what to do with him. And he did ask, he said, "Can I go to Mr. Smith?" And so I walked down the hall to try to find you, and you weren't there at the moment. But when I saw you coming up the steps, I asked you, "Can you talk to a couple of my kids?" And you said, "I'm handling something, I will get back to you." He refused to stay in my class, and he went down to my best of my memory, he went down and sat outside of your classroom. I do know you eventually spoke with him because when he came back to my class the next day, he was just like a different kid. And our kids need that emotional outlet. They not only need the emotional outlet, they need someone they can trust, and they trusted you. And that was great. And that was the girls and the boys, and then the teachers loved having you. So it was building the rapport, building the trust, having the support. It's just something that's so needed.
I have to admit you did a wonderful job here as far as with the students, helping them, talking about problems and working with them, because I'm gonna be honest with you, once you left, they didn't really they had support, but not like you gave them. Your support was like a father, a brother, a best friend. They knew they could come to you and talk to you about anything at any time. I could come to you and talk to you if I needed your help and support. What you did with all the kids and students. I mean, kids, teachers, staff, everything. Anybody could talk to you and help solve their problems. I can remember a lot of kids having breakdowns and stuff, and then when you come around, it seemed like they would just slow it down and be willing to talk. Stress would just go down because you was there. When they see your face, they light up. They was happy to see you. You had such a great impact here at this building with students. And I don't think no one else will ever be like you, I'm gonna be honest.
Colin Grindle, I'm a new tech instructional coach at Bookville CLC. I've just finished my 9th year at the school, and I've known Kenny for a very long time of those 9 years. It was a pleasure working with Kenny at school here, and I always admired a very unique trait about him in that he prioritized the emotions of students and the relationships that connecting to those emotions had. And he had such strong relationships with students that I've seen from other teachers, myself included, had a lot more of a challenge having connection and relationships with him. So I always looked at him as an example, as a role model, and whenever I interact with him, like I always listen to him as like a mentor of like how to make those connections with those students. And just by his example, I learned a lot about how, as a teacher, our base is like our content, what we know, but that a content only makes you an expert. A teacher is that extra personal, emotional relationship step that you take, and Kenny really showed me like how that should be the primary part of where you start and end as a teacher, not necessarily content, but where you think and feel about your students and how you use that to make relationships with your students.
I just remember you being so comfortable around students that you weren't put off by what they said. If they spoke in a way that wasn't appropriate, you just had a way of just kind of nudging them to be better. And there was a gentleness about you. I remember working on the hero's journey and you being so honest with them about your journey, that you had this, full ride scholarship, and then you went down to Florida and everything was great and you were going to have fun, and then you made decisions that lost you opportunities and shut doors. And how I worry so much about that. How can we speak to kids so they know that the decisions they make close doors? So I just remember you being one of those people that students would talk to and be willing to share their heart and be honest with, because of the way you gave it to them.
You definitely stood out to me in the 5 years we worked together with your relationships with students. I would see you every morning with the WVOB staff, which went from middle school to high school, and how you really got to know the students personally. You knew their lives, you seemed to know their families, and it really made an impact on me to see how important that is, and how if those kids struggled, they would go to you, or if they needed something, they always felt really comfortable going to you as a first person. So the biggest thing from the day I met you, and you probably don't even remember this, I was brand new and I came in and sat in the cafeteria and I didn't know anybody, and I was just sitting there at a table super awkwardly, and you were the very first person in this whole building that came up to me as an adult and sat down and introduced yourself, and you introduced me to other people. And I always saw you do that with all the staff and all the students. You were always smiling, you were always happy, you were always pleasant, and that's not easy to do every day in our job. And that is the thing that probably impacted me from the first time I saw you. I remember when you were here and doing the behavior work with behavior issues with the students, you understood having a safe place for those students to go, and I know you got a grant and bought equipment and things that the students were comfortable with, and you understood what students needed and how we needed to provide that. So I was always really impressed by that.
I am very pleased to speak of my association with Mr. Smith here at Bookdale. Our careers here at Bookdale overlapped nearly a decade. But in that time, I saw someone who probably advocated as much as anyone for the student, for the inherent value of each person. And he has always struck me as somebody who practices what he preaches. The work he did with restorative justice, which I only tangentially helped him on when they were working on a grant, is indicative of the kind of forward-thinking and student-centered advocation that I endlessly saw when we worked together. So I'm very pleased to speak highly of him, because it's here from the heart. Mr. Smith was very willing to incorporate some of the ideas we thought of with him relating to the morning announcements, and very innovative and always willing to look outside the box, and he kept value adding to that whole process. And I will say that he set a high standard then in terms for us.
I just see you as an African-American male, that when we worked together with the kids, I felt like you always had an open mind, and that provided a different lens for our kids, and you saw things through a different view, and you were not afraid to hold the kids accountable in a different way without yelling at them, or you had high expectations, and you just really helped them rise to the occasion. Not only the students, but the staff as well. Like, you're not afraid to tell people what they're good at, and I think that's what people don't hear often. I know for me, I didn't know some of the strengths that I had while working with the kids and working with you until you had gave me that reflection when we went on the restorative justice training. It was like a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware that we were doing. I just was doing, and you was like, you really need to do that. That's your gift. And I think if I was feeling like that, how are the kids feeling like that? They don't get enough positive. So for me, you just brought that positive and accountability consistently, and we just don't see that a lot. So I don't know, moving forward, I just think that you should continue to do that because it was impactful for me and the kids. They still talk about it. Even on the outside, like I know as educators, you're limited, but we have connected up to some kids where it was like some trauma-based incidents that happened, and the only person I could call was you. And you called them and you followed through. So I don't know that that really traditionally happens all the time, but that to me was life-changing for that individual because he didn't even have anybody else. So just a teacher, and this is a kid who had dropped out and had no other, you know, connections to anything. Like, how is it that I was able to call a former educator, you know, in that capacity and to reach that kid? So that was my takeaway from everything working with you.
And I have to kind of follow just a lot of the same stuff. Being a positive African American male with the students, that was huge in itself. You know, being positive with them, making sure you are holding them accountable, but also you're starting over with them every day. Like, okay, you're gonna have words. I mean, we all, you know, sometimes have words with people. But we're starting fresh that next day. It's all new.
Sometimes I don't think they think that we understand their view, you know. And I know working with you, and I get it too. I don't think we've always understood their role and how they feel as adults. Some adults feel like the adult is always right, and I think for you, you helped me with the kid bring a different perspective. Like, it's okay to just listen. Just because you're listening, you don't always have to agree. And the kids always say that you guys always listen and just don't assume, or you don't judge, or, you know, it's okay to work hard. Hard work pays off. Or consistency. To me, it's the consistency. That's what they reflect the most, you know, is holding them accountable and being consistency. So even when they don't arise to the occasion, you're still there. You know, we don't have the commitment level, you know, it's just like an athlete mentality. You got to stick with it and keep trying hard. And those who have done that, I think they're a little bit more successful. And those that we pushed, I mean, at least some of them may not have went to college, but they are very employable.
Well, and I remember one time I was over on the middle school side in your classroom. I think you were out sick for a little while, but going in there, the kids, they automatically got in a circle. They knew exactly what to do. And I was like, okay, well, what do you guys typically do? And like, they basically held the class by themselves. I mean, I was there, but they knew exactly what they needed to do. You could tell it was very consistent. This is how it works in here. This is what we do.
Are in a generation where kids are not going to say, help me fix this argument. So providing that dialogue in a circle format with trusting individuals that they trust to be able to get the whatever the issue is to come up with a resolve, it's just, it works, you know.
Well, and having that, okay, we just do circle just as a daily thing. This is normal. So we have circle daily just to talk, but now there's a problem. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go to circle because that's how we do things.